looking at tiny homes for several years online, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah, we sure have, and it's been just confusing and unbelievable in trying to make a decision.
Well, you know, we wanted to jump on the bandwagon like everybody else and buy
Tiny home.
It's the way to go. Hey, I'm Sue.
And I'm Steve, and we're aging joyfully.
So we've been looking at two main communities, right, Steve?
Oh, we have. We've been looking at two tiny home communities. That's what we've kind of focused on.
Because we live in Georgia, we wanted it to be fairly close to Georgia. So there's not a lot in Georgia. There is one that we haven't really investigated, but it's the first one in Newport, Tennessee, incredible tiny homes. And
Acony Bell in Asheville, North Carolina.
And we love both of those locations and the sense of community. Newport is close to the Smoky Mountains, which we just love. And my blood runs orange, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. And Acony Bell in North Carolina near Asheville. And that's an area that we also like. Asheville, again, it's close to the Smoky Mountains.
And the Blue Ridge.
And the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so, you know, it's very nice for hiking and driving. And
So we've been focused on those two. Now, Acony Bell would be more of a permanent place because their monthly fees are about $550 a month to live there.
Right, and so that's something that we would have to commit to that.
And the one in Newport, Incredible Tiny Homes, is $200 to $300 a month. So that one we were considering as having a second or vacation home, right?
Right. Exactly. And so the reason why that would make a good vacation home would be because it's centrally located to where we like to travel to, whether it's in the Smoky Mountains or it's further north in North Carolina or Tennessee.
Or Virginia.
Virginia borders right there with Tennessee and North Carolina. And so that would make a perfect vacation location.
So, Steve, what was the main reason we did not buy one in 2023?
Well, the main reason is that we can't make a decision. At one time, we did have a timeshare in Orlando, Florida, and that was kind of a bad decision, mainly from the standpoint of that maintenance fees kept escalating every year. And we really didn't get to use it that much.
It was impulsive, and we did not know that the maintenance fees went up so much every year. We thought they were going to be pretty constant, at least for a year or two, and it cost us thousands of dollars. We lost big time. That was one of our big mistakes.
That was a huge mistake, and actually trying to sell it, we sold it for pennies.
It was, we lost thousands on it. So we didn't want to be impulsive again and make that big of a mistake with a second home with one of the incredible tiny homes.
And then it's a big decision to go tiny, even for a vacation, because you're talking about something that's could be smaller than a hotel room, and it's a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and it's all one room.
Well, they have different ones, but for our vacation home, we were looking at the Incredibox or the extended Incredibox, which is, I don't remember the measurements, 8 by...
Right. So it's very small.
If we got the Incredibox, You can get a bigger one, but that gets, they range from $25,000 to about $150,000. So if you want a decent sized one, it'd probably be over $100,000.
Yeah, so that's a major expense, and that's not something that we want to get into right now. So
I ran some figures. If we assume we took money out of retirement to pay for the home, right? If we assume we're taking money out of retirement, and we're assuming about $50,000 because we're assuming a small, just Incredibox or the extended. I think it's 8 by 20 for the longer one. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So water, I heard Randy Jones, who owns it, say it's a flat fee of $25 a month. And then we're just guessing electricity is, we're guessing 100 based on a video we saw where a woman lived in one full time, because we'd want to leave our power on, right?
That's right. Yeah, we want to leave power on when we're not there.
Because
mainly the refrigerator.
Yeah, you'd probably have to unplug it, or it'd probably break if you don't have heat going. Okay, so then we have property tax that we're guessing $25 a month, insurance $25 a month, and then the lot is $200 to $300, and then the lost earnings on the money we took out of retirement, we're just saying about $50,000. So that's at a minimum at least 5%, probably more, but that's $2,500. So adding all those costs, roughly we're saying it's $600 a month just to maintain, not including, not the lump sum of taking money out to pay for it through our retirement money. So that's $7,200 a year. And we figure, how often would we be able to go there?
Probably about no more than 6 times a year.
So those $7,200 a yearly expenses divided by 6 is $1,200 for every single trip. $1,200 to maintain a second home, and that's not counting about if we do get a new one. That wasn't even counting. You'd have to get blinds and and maybe some little furniture.
Yeah, there's always added extras that you don't count that you're going to need.
I mean, I saw a resale one recently that was the Incredible Box. It was $40,000, included furniture, and so it had the drapes and furniture. You didn't have to get all that.
Right. But that's rare to find one like that.
Well, there's been some resales as people have gotten sick and left. Or have family emergencies. So there's been some resales. But if we got a new one, we'd have another $5,000 of expenses, at least $5,000 for the blinds and shower curtain and maybe some kitchen things. So we didn't even add that in. So this is just a bare minimum of $1,200 per visit. Now, we're still years out from retiring, right?
So we're between 2 to 5 years before retirement.
So we may want to do it 6 months to a year before retiring, and have it as a transition home as we're trying to decide where we want our permanent home to be. We don't know yet. Georgia has a lot of favorable tax laws, as we made that video on for 62 and up. They have favorable tax laws. Now, Tennessee is no state tax, but if you have income that you earned in another state, that is taxable. And you need to look it up, but I think I read they do have an exemption if you're 65 years of age or up. But you want to research that yourself, because I know when we first moved there, I moved there in high school, and my father was shocked he had to pay tax on his income from another state. So there's just a lot of issues. We didn't want to be impulsive, right?
Exactly.
And so once we do buy it, we would be limited to taking every vacation in Tennessee.
Yes, we would. And so that you have to kind of consider, over time, what is that going to be like? What does that look like to take our vacation constantly in Tennessee?
As we get closer to retirement, we can buy a tiny home and use it as a transitional home as we're deciding where to go. But again, if we want to live in a tiny home, we want more than the small ones. But if it's something we're going to live in more permanently, we'd want something bigger. We'd have to have a washer and dryer.
Yeah, and so it's really a big lifestyle change to live in a tiny home. And I just think we're not ready for that change yet.
Well, we need to visit and stay in one, which we'll be doing sometime. Maybe in the spring we could get over to Acony Bell or to Incredible Tiny Homes maybe and stay. Some of my concerns are that they say, I've watched a lot of small tiny homes and their water pipes usually burst in the winter, don't they?
Yeah, and that's not good. I mean, that's an easy flood.
Most of the water pipes freeze under the house and maybe burst, and I guess it could actually ruin the floors if it were to burst inside the house. But most of the ones I've seen, I believe they say they froze underneath, or they just didn't have water because it froze underneath, and they show you to insulate them. But even with insulating, I think they could still probably freeze up. If you're not there, that's a concern if we're just getting a second home. Right?
That's right.
The other one is they do get a lot of humidity, so a lot of them have dehumidifiers, which they don't show, but that takes up a lot of space when you have a tiny home.
I guess you also have to be concerned about the materials and the fumes that the materials give off. Since it is a tiny space, it has to be well ventilated, at least in my mind. It has to be well ventilated with airflow constantly.
Well, I like the ones Randy Jones does, the Incredible ones. It's remnants from windows or doors, and they're magnetic, so it's not, you can't really burn because it's not really wood. But if he did switch materials, and I'm not familiar with the new materials, if those are fire hazard or not, but he does put sprinklers in his home. He always shows the sprinklers he has in the homes. And then we want a main floor bedroom, so of course if we got the Incredible Box, we'd be sleeping in our living room. That would be our bedroom as well. So yeah, it is a big adjustment, but I think it's about the same as a hotel room. It's a bathroom, and a hotel doesn't always have a kitchen. They do have nice kitchens for the size of the tiny home. It's a decent kitchen. There's just a lot of considerations, a lot of money. We don't want to make the wrong decision because this is our retirement money and we can't get it back. Now, they do say it's depreciating too once you buy it, But I think a lot of people are breaking even or maybe making a little bit because there's such a demand now for these tiny homes.
Right, and tiny homes, you know, are great for some people, and you know, I'm glad that there are tiny homes as an option, because there's a lot of people who cannot afford homes, traditional homes, and they've been living in their car or in a trailer, or you know, and this gives them an option to have a secure place where they can call home and you know store their things and have some sense of value, you know, to ownership.
I mean, we're looking at downsizing, so in addition to tiny homes, we're looking at apartments, but I think the rents around here are $2,500. I mean, if we move to a smaller city, it's still going to be probably $1,500 a month, and so a tiny home would definitely be more economical than an apartment.
Right. Yes.
So there's that, or getting a smaller home, but we are looking for a sense of community. If we downsize, we want maybe a retirement community, or the tiny home community seems ideal because it's all different ages and they're all open because they are pretty close to your neighbors. You got to be close to your neighbors.
Exactly, and everyone in that neighborhood is in the same situation with a tiny home, and so you want to probably spend the least amount of time inside your home and more of your time outside your home, and really just use your home for sleeping, showering, eating, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you just can't buy anything, which is great because we have 30 years of stuff I've been trying to declutter, and it's just a nightmare. You don't even know what you have when you have, you know, bigger. We don't have a huge house by any means, but you just don't know what you have, and so we're trying to get rid of a lot of things. In a tiny home, you have not a lot of things.
Yeah, really, not a lot of room, so you really can't store a lot.
And you can't buy a lot. And then
you can't buy a lot.
You know, people say when they buy something, they have to get rid of something, so you can't have a ton of clothes. But the washer and dryer is top. We can't live without a washer and dryer.
True. That's
true. The one thing, you know, it's non-negotiable. But if we got it as a second home, we wouldn't, and you got the Incredibox, you wouldn't have a washer and dryer. So we're leaning towards the bigger one, which should probably be $60,000 to $100,000. That's making the cost go up, plus insuring it, property tax, and the lost earnings on our retirement. So there are some considerations. We don't want to be impulsive, but yeah, you see them on YouTube all the time, and it looks so neat too.
Oh, it sure does. And they've decorated them really nice, and the community seems to be real friendly. So yeah, it does look good.
But I mean, and there's a concern. A lot of them don't have a kitchen table because they're too small. So I don't know if you're always eating on your couch, sitting on the couch eating, or maybe standing at the counter. I'm not sure how you handle meals because, gosh, and we looking at the tiny homes, people don't have very many objects in their home. I mean, I don't know I mean, some people have talked about getting rid of their things, and even if you come from a 2-bedroom apartment, you still have access for the tiny home.
Right. You still have a lot. 2-bedroom, go down to, you know, 1 room, you know, that's a big change.
Well, I think if we were to live in it, it'd be more than the Incredibox. It'd have to be a little bit bigger.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I saw one that at Incredible Tiny Homes where Scotty lived. It had a main floor bedroom, and then it also had a loft, which she used mainly as storage, and then had a bed, I think, for her grandkids. That seemed the ideal one. It had 2 doors, a back door and the front door, and it had 2 porches, the front porch and the back porch. And I don't remember what she sold it for, or her family selling, because she did pass away, but it was, I would have loved to have gotten that one. I think it was 110 or something, 110, 120, which, you know, you have to take out a loan probably, or sell our house. So we're not in the position to buy it unless we sell our house. Right. So they're not, you know, they can be a little costly. So it's a big consideration. We're looking at homes, older homes in smaller cities in East Tennessee, and you could get a home for $150,000. So it's just a little more than the tiny home. It's a permanent home. They're built in the 45, 55, 65. So they're older, but you know, it's a more permanent home because we do worry about the weather as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and you know, and we may have to fix up some things in a home like that, but it's more of a home. It's more of a bigger home than a tiny home.
Well, we had some bad storms recently, and several people died in the southeast, and so that is a consideration if the tiny homes can flip over or
Right,
blow.
exactly.
That is a big. I mean, because I know East Tennessee doesn't have a lot of tornadoes, but they did have one unique one last year, and I know through the years they've had a few. I mean, Georgia, we have a lot, so I guess I'd be more reluctant to live in one in Georgia than Tennessee.
Right. But you never know. I mean, weather's changing, and so anything can happen.
So yeah, until we can really make a good firm decision, we don't want to do anything.
Right, exactly. Making a decision is not one of our fine points.
Well, it's a serious decision. I mean, so we're going to be looking at apartments, retirement homes, condos, different areas, and get a sense. But we do want to find a community. We don't want to just move. We're reluctant to get a house again where, you don't often know your neighbors.
True, that's true. And so, an apartment or maybe a tiny home or somewhere else might be the best thing to do.
So yeah, we're in the early stages. But that's why we didn't buy one last year and probably won't buy one this year either.
Right, exactly.
So follow us as we start looking at apartments and smaller housing. And who knows? I mean, who knows?
It's an adventure. It's an adventure.
Every day is an adventure. We never know where we're going to end up.
That's right. That's true. So as we move forward here, definitely click subscribe and notifications, and don't forget like button.
Yes, until we see you again.
Take it easy.